It's a wonderful day in the homiehood, a wonderful day for a homie. Won't you be my homie to Taro? Essentially, this conspiracy theory that by having walkable neighborhoods, they're going like the globalists are going to lock us down somehow by like forcing us to like walk through our lovely neighborhoods. Um, it's pretty weird. I guess okay, it's probably stems from this World Economic Forum thing. I think they're scared their cars are gonna be taken away. Yeah, okay. Like as if that's gonna happen, right? Like I think they're literally just like live in fear. What is going on? Okay, so this is something from the World Economic Forum, which is I'm assuming where this all stems from because um anything that the World Economic Forum does is like a conspiracy theory to certain people. And I mean, I think they've certainly done a lot of terrible things. But is making walkable cities one of those things? Let's find out. Exactly, the real idea is to have neighborhoods where you can get everything you need in 15 minutes. But the crackpot idea is they want to do that so they can lock us down to our designated 15-minute neighborhoods. There is no logic there. That is, I will agree with you there, Illis Cardigan. There is absolutely no logic there. I don't know what. Okay, let's accept some cookies. Um. So yeah, this is from World Economic Forum, the WEF. Um. Also published in Common Edge, I guess, which is maybe like a nicer place to read it. I like their font a little better. So, urbanism trends come and go. Broadacre City, Radiant City, Eco City, yet the 15-minute city concept, which implies having all necessary amenities within a short walk, bike ride, or public transit trip from one's home, has demonstrated stickiness not just as an idea, but as a powerful tool for action from Paris to Seoul, Bogota to Houston. I don't get why the conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory now. It's been an idea floating around for a few years at least. It's very strange. I know there were some people even at like Peterborough City Council who last night, right? I I think some right wingers were like live streaming it on their phone with like terrible audio quality. Um, just because they feel like Peterborough is the next 15-minute city. It's like, okay, Peterborough almost already is a 15-minute city. It didn't even come up at the meeting at all. Okay. That's good to hear, I guess. They probably forgot to submit their delegation request. For a longtime urbanists, the 50-minute city seemed to merely repackage the historic urban pattern of development, walkable mixed-use districts. Old wine, new bottle, as the saying goes. But for the new framing to ignite a global urbanism movement, clearly there's more going on. Okay, I mean, I love the idea of walkable mixed use districts. Like it's something that Canada has not done a very good job of at all in its development. The obvious yet incomplete answer is the pandemic. Would Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo have pushed for progressive urban design without this framing? Undoubtedly. But with COVID and its variants keeping everyone at home or closer to home than usual, the 50-minute city went from a nice to have to a rallying cry. Okay, so it's been, I guess it's a rallying cry for sane people, but it's also become a rallying cry for insane people as well. Meeting all of one's needs within walking, biking, transit distance was suddenly a matter of life and death. The pandemic created an urgency around equitable urbanism that sidelined arguments about bike lanes and other amenities that have roiled communities for years. The term was coined in 2016. Okay, so it's been around for a while, even though it's taking now up until 2023, which is like 7 years for it to be like a trend, even though it's trending in the negative sense. By Sorbonne professor Carlos Moreno, who was given an Nobel Award in 2021 for developing the idea. Oh wow, they were even like given an award for this fantastic idea. The award was created by the Dutch based Obel Foundation, honoring architectural contributions to human development. The graph below comes from a Google Trends search of worldwide usage of the term. The peak in the middle is approximately November 15th, 2020. Okay. So Obel Prize sounds like a cheap knockoff of the Nobel Prize. Oh, it's not a Nobel. It's a Obel. Yeah, you think this is a mistake? Is this a typo? No, it's not. The Obel Prize. Okay, interesting, interesting. Yeah, it's not a Nobel, it's a Obel. When the new framing meets its moment, something more than a fad is emerging. Prior to the pandemic, few planners would have taken seriously the idea that home become the central organizing factor of all urban planning. Despite predictions of increased telecommuting, working from home remains an outlier. Indeed, work and commerce have always been the central organizing factors of urbanism, from the post-agricultural revolution to the industrial and technological ones. So, I mean, it is a failure of like creating wonderful mixed usage neighborhoods, right? Like we have such a strange idea embedded in our society that like you live at home and you go to your work and you go to a different district where there's work happening. Um but I really like love having a mixed neighborhood, you know? Like it's something that they do much better in Asian countries, I think, where like you're you know, there's businesses integrated throughout your neighborhood so that when you need your basic necessities met, you really just don't have to go far. Historically, most cities grew up around trade, which then developed into more permanent places of commerce. Cities reduced transportation costs for goods and people by bringing them closer together. By reducing these costs, cities increased productivity and thus further evolved the city as a multiplier of culture and innovation, and European as well. Yeah, you're right, Purple Mavis. I don't know what it is about North America. It's just like the new world, and then they made it the shittiest of all the worlds. As Aristotle said, the city state comes into being for the sake of living, but it exists for the sake of living as well. More than a century after the adoption of automobiles as the dominant mode of transportation, work still dictated urban geography with increasingly longer commutes. Suburbia, the antithesis of the 15-minute city, couldn't exist without proximity to an economic urban engine. Yeah, I mean, I'm like anti suburbia, so 15-minute cities sound amazing to me. We went all in on fuck everything but cars in the 20th century. I know. We had walkable cities, but tore them down for parking lots. I know. It's so sad. It's so bloody sad, man. Um, I think there's like a stereotype that people all often like look fondly to their like first year of university. And part of the reason, I swear to God, is that it was probably like the one part of your life where you lived in a truly walkable city and all of your needs, whether they be social or through your work, which at that time is like school, and like getting like the food that you need and the resources that you need, they were all within like a 15-minute walkable city essentially. So um we tend to romanticize this period of our lives, right? And part of it is because we had community like exactly where we lived, and it was like almost this like perfect idealistic part of our life that I don't know why we have such trouble recreating um outside of our 19-year-old coming of age years. The creative destruction of cities. COVID may now be flipping this on its head, which is why the 15-minute city concept is taking hold in a way that it would not have before the pandemic. As demonstrated by the illustration below, the 15-minute city puts home at the center of the urban spatial relationships. The point is not to have every cultural amenity and human desire within immediate reach of one's doorstep. New York is the point is not to have every cultural amenity and human desire within immediate reach of one's doorstep. It's not? I thought it was. Okay. uh, New York can only have one Broadway theater district, but there's no question that Midtown Manhattan will have to follow a similar recovery pattern that Lower Manhattan did in the wake of the 9/11 terrorist attack, diversification. And that is true of the suburbs as well, significantly beyond the extent to which they've already diversified. Okay, so let's take a look at this image. This is like actually quite a lovely image here. So it's, I guess what the way I was maybe like misreading that was that it's, you can't have every cultural amenity. Like it's not about having like Broadway in the suburbs, but it is about meeting some of the needs as demonstrated by this image here. This is the 15-minute Paris, and home being in the center of this graph. So, you know, you have healthcare, staying active, eating healthy, learning, working, sharing, and reusing. Stock up, enjoy the outdoors, and be engaged in your community. No, you need an Eiffel Tower within 15 minutes of every home. True. That is true. Um, so I see. So like home can be in the center, but I noticed that it's 15 minutes here between everything else as well. So even though home is in the center and it takes you 15 minutes to get to all of these other things are also 15 minutes apart. Um, so theoretically, right? Like you theoretically, you know, you might in a day go and work out and also have to go grocery shopping. So it'll take you 15 minutes to go work out, 15 minutes to go to get to your grocery shopping, and then 15 minutes to get home. So your commute time, um presumably, if like ideally you're like walking or cycling, is only 45 minutes, or taking public transit, right? It's only 45 minutes, and the time that you spend in each place is, you know, maybe an hour, hour and a half at the most. Sometimes grocery shopping can only take half an hour, right? So it's really making your commute time just like more doable and more enjoyable, really, right? So damn, World Economic Forum trying to keep the working man from having an Eiffel Tower. That's right. So yeah, really, I mean, I'm someone who just like has like even very recently just become like very interested in like civil engineering stuff like this. So I think because we spend so much time like thinking about how to improve our lives, right? And having a city that operated like this, it just sounds like lovely. Indeed, the decentralization of work is not going to kill the city. It's going to save it. There will be a lot of creative destruction along the way, but that is how the city renews itself from within. The cities don't decentralize work. The cities that don't decentralize work will struggle mightily in ways both known and unimaginable. As climate change causes shocks and stresses at faster intervals and increasing severity, this 50-minute city will become even more critical. Anyone who has followed Eric Kleinberg's work, which I have not, knows that resilience is rooted in place. Specifically, communities that foster and maintain social and economic relationships don't have to be wealthy, but they do need to be walkable and safe, with both residential and commercial buildings intact. And I would add, for 15-minute cities to thrive, not just survive crises, and this cannot be stressed enough, they must also have plenty of mixed income and equitable housing, as well as digital access. This is how neighborhoods can know and understand each other as local store owners and workers, colleagues, caregivers, educators, and friends. These are the people who come together when it matters most. The mutual aid groups that appeared during the pandemic exemplify the importance of social cohesion in a crisis, which only works if necessities are within a reasonable distance of where people live. Honestly, this all sounds like so positive. I can't imagine hearing this and being like, ah, the World Economic Forum, they're trying to kill us all by making us live in like stronger communities. 15-minute cities are not just a collection of autonomous medieval villages living in a constant state of crises. The fractal nature of cities is what makes them dynamic places as a collection of connected neighborhoods with their own cultural histories that evolve over time and contribute to the identity of the larger city, such as the Harlem Renaissance or the Latin jazz and hip hop cultures of the South Bronx. See, this is actually so nice. The word connected is doing a lot of work here. Yes, people need mass transit and other citywide services, but cities are as much an identity as a place. As historian Yuval Noah Harari might say, cities are a fiction, a shared concept that organizes society around cooperation, however tenuous that may seem at times. When Harari focused on nation states and religion as primary human fictions, I would argue that cities are the most enduring human fiction of all. Okay, and I think this is the last part here: dystopia, utopia, and utopia. Wait, what is this? Utopia and utopia. Okay, I guess we're about to learn today. In stark contrast to the 50-minute city is the predominant urban trend of the 20th century that continues into one that continues into the current one, namely rapid urbanization, both dystopian and utopian. I mean, this is actually such a common theme throughout pop culture, right? Like cyberpunk is like this dystopian future where we are all essentially like slaves to the corporations, right? So I think this theme is like actually a wonderful thing to explore more. An estimated 1 billion poor people, one of every 8 people on the planet, live in informal settlements. Then there's this dystopian ghost towns of China where 130 million properties are vacant, which could house about 340 million people, surpassing the current US population. The opposing trend is the ground up construction of smart city utopias, such as Songdo City in South Korea and Masdar City in Abu Dhabi, among others. Even though they're largely considered soulless failures, hope springs eternal. Toyota's Woven City is now under construction in Japan. Wait, what are these smart cities all about? Um, come on. Can Toyota succeed where Sidewalk Labs failed? Oh, okay, it's like these like Google cities, basically. Interesting. I don't know. I guess we'll see. It sounds very cyberpunk dystopian to me. Between dystopia and utopia is utopia, a town planning term coined by 19th century Scottish polymath Patrick Geddes. It comes from the Greek origin of meaning good, and topos, meaning place, comprising folk, work, and place. Utopia is the best possible manifestation of a city. Let me just make sure I'm pronouncing this right as well. Uh, Pronunciation.
Utopia.
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 I think it's Pia, but okay. So it's basically pronounced the same as utopia, but it's spelled differently, which is a bit confusing. Um, it's like a more utopic utopia, I guess. Um, I'm glad it's not Eurotopia with a R because that would imply like a certain like Eurocentrism. To better quantify and plan utopias with the EU and not with the EU, Geddes developed the concept of a vital budget. He argued that society must transition from money wages, which tend to dissipate energies toward individual gains at the expense of both natural and cultural qualities, to a vital budget, which facilitates conserving energies and organizing the environment towards the maintenance and evolution of life, social, individual, civic. This sounds a lot like a 15-minute city, including the circumstances under which it emerged, through the cracks of creative destruction brought on by a technological revolution. Yo, oi polloi, you're late today. People are freaking out about 15-minute cities is hilarious. The government does a lot of bad stuff, but sometimes they have an idea that could be beneficial to people, and we don't have to find a way that it's a conspiracy. A broken clock is right. Twice a day. Yes, you're right. In this case, the broken clock being the World Economic Forum and cities and urban planners. So what's new about the 15-minute city then? As a concept, not much, which is why I initially dismissed it as a fad. But as the old wine, new bottle framing went viral, pardon the pun, oh yeah, because this is in the wake of the pandemic, got it, and began to spark real change, it became clear the historical roots of the 50-minute city connected deeply with the current moment, one that we'll be living with for a long time to come. There is no such thing as a new idea, Mark Twain once said. It is impossible. We simply take a lot of old ideas and put them into a sort of mental kaleidoscope. We give them a turn and they make new and curious combinations. We keep on turning and making new combinations indefinitely. But they are the same old pieces of colored glass that have been in use through all of the ages. Okay? So, okay, this is like some serious PDF information about real change. But yeah, 15-minute cities, it sounds wonderful. It sounds utopic.